Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Gooden. The Pentagon's announced the U.S. blew up another boat in the eastern Pacific, killing 4 people. The Pentagon claims the boat was carrying drugs, but once again offered no proof. The U.S. has now killed at least 87 people in 22 strikes on boats since September. This comes as controversy continues to grow over a September 2nd strike when the U.S. targeted and killed 2 men who'd survived an initial attack. 9 were killed in the first strike. On Thursday, members of Congress were shown video of 2 men being killed at a time when they were clinging to the side of their overturned boat for more than 40 minutes. Democratic Representative Jim Hines of Connecticut spoke after watching the video.
What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed by the United States.
Lawmakers also questioned Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley, the operations commanding officer. Many questions remain over Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's role. The Washington Post recently reported Hegseth had ordered Pentagon officials to kill everybody on the boat. This comes as the Pentagon's Inspector General has released its report examining Hegseth's sharing of sensitive information about U.S. strikes in Yemen on a Signal group chat earlier this year. The report found Hegseth's actions, quote, created a risk to operational security that could have resulted in failed U.S. mission objectives and potential harm to U.S. pilots, unquote. The report also criticized Hegseth's use of a personal cell phone to conduct official business. Hegseth himself refused to cooperate with the investigation, refusing to hand over his phone or sit for an interview. Israel's military is continuing to pound the Gaza Strip in violation of the October 10th ceasefire. Al Jazeera reports Israeli ships opened fire towards the coast of Khan Yunis while air raids struck the city of Rafah. There are reports of explosions and Israeli artillery fire around Gaza City, including airstrike near the Maghazi refugee camp. Meanwhile, a CNN investigation found the Israeli military fired indiscriminately at starving Palestinians collecting sacks of flour near an aid distribution site near the Zakim crossing in June, then bulldoze their bodies into shallow, unmarked graves, with some bodies left to decompose or be partially eaten by dogs. Gaza officials and the United Nations estimate about 10,000 Palestinians remain missing from Israel's more than 2-year assault, while the official death toll recently passed 70,000. Public broadcasters in Ireland, Slovenia, the Netherlands, and Spain said Thursday they'll boycott the 2026 Eurovision Song Contest after the European Broadcasting Union refused to hold a vote on whether to exclude Israel. This is José Pablo López, president of Spain's national broadcaster.
We maintain the same position we had months ago when we said Israel's participation in the Eurovision Festival was untenable for 2 main reasons. Firstly, because the genocide it has perpetuated in Gaza. As president of the corporation, I keep thinking that Eurovision is a contest, but human rights are not a contest.
Eurovision is among the most popular TV and online events in the world. Last year, viewers from 156 countries cast votes for their favorite contestants. In New Jersey, protesters picketed this morning outside a Jersey City warehouse that's used to transport military cargo to Israel. A recent report by the Palestinian Youth Movement and Progressive International found the warehouse handles over 1,000 tons of Israel-bound military cargo every week, including thousands of Mk-84 2,000-pound bombs that have been used to level Gaza. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for Texas to use a new congressional map designed to help Republicans pick up as many as 5 House seats next year. A lower court had previously ruled the redistricting plan was unconstitutional because it would likely dilute the political power of Black and Latino voters. Liberal Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan wrote in her dissent, quote, "This court's stay ensures that many Texas citizens, for no good reason, will be placed in electoral districts because of their race. And that result, as this court has pronounced year in and year out, is a violation of the Constitution. We'll have more on that story after headlines. The FBI has arrested a 30-year-old man from Virginia for allegedly planting pipe bombs near the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters in January 2021 and the night before the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The suspect, Brian Cole, is expected to appear in court today. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has asked a judge to re-jail a participant in the January 6th insurrection who'd been pardoned by President Trump. The Justice Department made the request after the man, Taylor Taranto, showed up near the home of Democratic Congress member Jamie Raskin, who served on the January 6th House Select Committee. Security's been increased for Congressmember Raskin. In October, Taranto was sentenced to time served for making a threat near the home of former President Barack Obama. A federal grand jury in Virginia has declined a second attempt by the Justice Department to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James on charges she lied in her mortgage application. In a statement, Letitia James wrote, "As I have said from the start, the charges against me are baseless. It's time for this unchecked weaponization of our justice system to stop," she said. It's the latest defeat for President Trump's campaign of retribution against his political enemies. The Trump administration's reportedly considering a third attempt to obtain an indictment against James. In New Orleans, about 30 activists were ejected from a city council meeting Thursday after calling for ICE-free zones and asking local leaders to do more to protect immigrants. During a public comment period, members of the public went to the microphone one by one and were cut off when it became clear they wanted to speak on immigration, which wasn't on the formal agenda.
And I'm asking City Council for ICE-free zones, make all city-owned property ICE-free zones, and prohibit ICE and DHS from using city property to stage their operations. No collaboration with ICE. City Council must pass ordinances that codify non-collaboration between the City of New Orleans and ICE, including all of its offices.
As I stated previously, that is not germane. Thank you for your comments.
The protests came as the Border Patrol announced a surge of more than 200 federal immigration agents into New Orleans, which the agency is calling Operation Catahoula Crunch. They aim to make 5,000 arrests over 2 months. We'll go to New Orleans later in the broadcast. Honduran presidential candidate Salvador Nasrallah has alleged fraud after his conservative rival, Nasri Asfoura, regained the lead as election officials continue to tally up votes from Sunday's election. Nasrallah also accused President Trump of interfering in the race by publicly backing Asfoura. Some election officials have also publicly criticized the election process. On Thursday, Marlon Ochoa, who serves on Honduras's National Electoral Council, decried what she called an electoral coup. She said, quote, "I believe there's unanimity among the Honduran people that we're perhaps in the least transparent election in our democratic history," unquote. President Trump welcomed the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda to Washington, D.C. Thursday for the signing of an agreement aimed at ending decades of conflict in the eastern DRC. Trump also announced the U.S. had agreed to bilateral deals that will open the African nation's reserves of rare earth elements and other minerals to U.S. companies. The signing ceremony was held in the newly renamed Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. During the event, Trump struggled to keep his eyes open. This follows other recent public appearances where Trump appeared to fall asleep a number of times. And once again, Trump was spotted wearing bandages on his right hand, which appeared bruised and swollen, covered with makeup. That fueled further speculation about the president's health. On Monday, the White House said the results from Trump's recent MRI exam were perfectly normal after Trump was unable to tell reporters aboard Air Force One what part of his body was scanned.
What part of your body was the MRI looking at?
I have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
In business news, Netflix has announced it'll buy Warner Brothers in a deal worth at least $72 billion. The deal could reshape the entertainment and media industry as it will give Netflix control of Warner's movie and TV studios as well as the HBO Max streaming service. In labor news, a dozen striking Starbucks workers were arrested in New York City Thursday as they blocked the doors to the Empire State Building where Starbucks has a corporate office. Starbucks workers at over 100 stores are on strike. In New Jersey, Democratic Socialist Joel Brooks and Jake Efros have made history after winning election to the Jersey City Council. They're the first socialists elected to public office in New Jersey in over a century. This follows the historic election of Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani as New York City's next mayor. A University of California student's been ordered to serve 90 days in jail for breaking into a Sonoma County poultry slaughterhouse and freeing 4 chickens. 23-year-old Zoe Rosenberg of Berkeley received the sentence on Wednesday after a jury convicted her in October of felony conspiracy and 3 misdemeanor counts. She was ordered to pay more than $100,000 to Petaluma Poultry, which is owned by the agribusiness giant Purdue Farms. Rosenberg supporters with the group Direct Action Everywhere say the chickens she rescued were worth $24. They're reportedly alive and well at a sanctuary for rescued farm animals. Rosenberg told supporters her action was prompted by investigations that found routine violations of California's animal cruelty laws at Petaluma poultry slaughterhouses.
Birds among the living, that the air quality was so poor that chickens were struggling to breathe. I myself was struggling to breathe, even with a KN95 mask, as I investigated this facility. And we have been calling on the California Attorney General to take action because the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office has made it abundantly clear that they do not care about these animals whatsoever, that they care far more about the profits of Purdue, a company that makes over $10 billion a year on the backs of these animals.
And the Trump administration has ended a policy granting visitors free access to national parks on the federal holidays Juneteenth and Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Instead, the 116 parks that charge entrance fees will now waive admission charges on June 14th, President Trump's birthday. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.